Alright folks, we're back, but you're already hearing the beeps begin. That's because we're getting in the game. It's the first best of 3 for the Corsair Cup. uThermal versus Nerchio. That should be a good one. This was actually, I can't remember what we were casting, because my brain's all sorts of fuzzy, but really hoping to cast this matchup. I think it was for like the Corsair Cup losers bracket or something, and didn't get to. But we get to redeem ourselves here now in the Corsair Cup. Because once again, this is going to be a fantastic matchup, guys. He is one of the best players in Europe, without a doubt. He just knocked out like 6 or 7 Koreans for Total Biscuit Shoutcraft. He qualified for the Corsair Cup. Overall badass in the bottom left, the Polish Zerg Nerchio.
In the bottom right, as the Teal Terran, he is Liquid uThermal. Oh, I haven't said that before. Oh, that's weird.
Did it feel weird coming off the tongue like that? Like, how's that?
Well, not just in the fact that, you know, he's newly on Liquid, but also Liquid uThermal actually is not something that rolls off the tongue.
That's true.
Unlike
that's why
Liquid TLO or anything.
That's why it's Liquid Thermi.
Yeah, I actually entirely agree with his name choice here.
So here's the thing about this that's so interesting. I just gave Nerchio a really big hype start, like roster of like things he's done recently, right? But funny enough, uThermal, I think, actually stands a better chance of beating Nerchio than some of the Korean Terrans do out there. And the reason I say this is because, A, uThermal's gotten really good at this matchup. Like, this seriously was a complete, like, 180, because it was his worst matchup for, like, a year. Now it's, like, his best matchup when it comes to StarCraft 2. Alright? Factor in the fact that it's Nerchio, and you consider, alright, well, it's more than just a TVZ, it's Terran versus Nerchio. And that's very true, and these guys have actually played some really long series that uThermal's lost, but more recently, when we've been seeing him play against Nerchio, the results haven't been too bad, albeit with the exception of the more recent Corsair Cup losers bracket results. I think that if he gets those timings, and he's really good at hitting those pre-ultralist timings, if he can keep his micro to be as good as we know he can, and maybe, just maybe, there's like this extra element of like he's in the same room as Bunny, so like Terran brothers give each other power or something, I think he could surprise us and take the series. But I think it's got to be safe to say, like, the safe bet is Nerchio on this one.
I would say so. He seems to be in top form and on a, you know, a winning streak and whatnot after Shoutcraft, so.
He's in top form once he got the double buildings out of his system. I still don't know what was up with that. Like, 2 or 3 games in a best of 5. Double, double, double.
Yeah, and you're, you know, totally right. Like, a quick look at Ligulac, and didn't even have to do this because they think we've cast everything except for the one game in Corsair Cup and then the Copa America Intercontinental. But the storyline for these two guys has been like, you know, they've faced each other a lot. It's a very classic matchup, and for the first like 80% of their time, Nerchio would always beat uThermal, other than like 1 or 2 rare occurrences. And then lately, it's actually swapped a little bit back.
Yeah.
So uThermal did beat him in Mexico, for instance, but then of course lost him with the Corsair Cup. So they're very even skill. I think they know each other a lot too. And you're right, uThermal just got a lot better. Nerchio got a lot better. There's actually been a big difference between right now and, for instance, their best of 15 in the map tournament, map test tournament. Like, actually, I would say almost 2 different players. Of course, their playstyles are still similar. That's not what's really changed, but just, I don't know how they perfected both of their skill sets.
Well, either way, the Corsair Cup is not exactly the most high-stakes cup in terms of prize money, but I think especially when you got big names collide, or bigger names collide, there's going to be a little bit of the element of, I don't know if you'll call it pride or ego, or it's just like, I cannot lose to that guy. Now uThermal, by the way, is setting up back at home, getting that stim, gonna get those medevacs. I really don't think we're gonna see anything crazy out of him, right? Like, it should be the 2 medevac drop, the Marines, third one comes a little bit later. One of the things I really like about uThermal is he plays similar to Beyond in some respects. On one side of this, though, he's like, he can get really aggressive, he can get really dirty with his tactics, but when he plays normal really damn well. And I say normal here in like air quotes. I guess it's more like when you play standard, or however you want to phrase that, where you're just doing what I think Nerchio would predict happens. But actually, not that it's playing a huge influence on this game, I'm quickly reminded, just looking at the map so far, uThermal might have the advantage of doing something sneaky in this series, because something's been going on with like old man Nerchio, and he's not been too prominent about scouting in most of the series we've been casting him in, and this game looks like it's not going to be too much of an exception.
Yeah. Yeah, he tries to figure out what you're doing in other ways besides just a direct Overlord scout, whereas, you know, Snoot will just go for the direct Overlord scout, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Marine Lord certainly took advantage of that in their series in the Corsair Cup, so It's the reasons he has actually got through. But the double drop is scouted, but first by the Ling and then by the Overlord. Not a big surprise, to be honest. Nerchio is going for a Roach defense, which is I would just say a different way than he usually plays on Frost. Not sure why he chose to go for this over like his Ling style with the faster upgrades, but it is going to be interesting because, I mean, I don't know what
picks off that Roach right away. Gets on top of the Queens, no chance for a transfuse. Brute forces his way in. 1 health on this Queen, barely lives.
Where like his Medivacs just like did not bother going with his Marine.
So that's interesting though. I actually almost think that was intentional because so often when you do this, you take that damage and then you can't easily come back for round 2. Okay, he lost about a quarter of his Marines for it, and that kind of sucks. But the Medivacs are unscathed. So I don't know whether that was worth it or not, but it's interesting to see that because it could have also just been a lucky mistake.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, the thing is that, like, if you're able to micro your medevac back, then ideally they miss micro and the Queen walks forward. So that would have been a kill, for instance, on that one Queen. But that's looking way too much into the initial drop. Like, sometimes that drop does kill Zergs, and it's actually, like, killed a lot of really good Zergs. Sometimes it just happens occasionally. You under-defend on accident, but Nerchio was completely fine. But he is going for at least the 1 upgrade first, but it looks like he's going to get another upgrade. I mean, talking again about Snoot, because like Snoot, it seems to be really that he does Roaches all the time, whereas Nerchio is kind of swapping between Roach or Ling.
His mass bailing is disgusting to watch.
Yeah, but that's what Snoot does. He only goes for the Carapace upgrades for quite a while, because, I mean, Ravagers don't need the upgrade. Infestors that you're ultimately wanting to get to don't need the attack upgrade. And it is a very defensive style, as, you know, most Zergs are playing now. So, no surprise attack coming in through here.
Is he just going to bulk up and go for a big fight? I mean, with the units he had, he could easily drop. But no, goes for a dogfight with the Roaches. Weren't all consolidated. The bio looks pretty good, but he's waiting for that 1-1, and it's so close to finishing. In fact, just now finishes as I'm speaking.
Yeah. Yeah, that's quite a big difference than how like it usually happens in these two. Like again, Nerchio going for these Roaches.
Man.
He had gone for the melee. You actually already be done too, but he is going for the melee still a little bit later, so he is going to go up to Ultralisk.
Nerchio's hella out for blood, by the way, but a lot of the army didn't go back home to defend. It came across the map. Liberators and a couple bio going to set up, but this might not be good for uThermal.
I'm surprised he didn't bother repairing.
Actually,
well, there's only one moving in either.
Yeah, there's only one Ravager as well, so I think the Liberators should be good for defense, but losing both the engineering bays really sucks. Other side of the map, though, those Queens are out for blood, and they keep focusing down this one medevac. It's probably going to pop off, so uThermal's got to be very careful how he picks these units up.
Yeah, he can take this fight. Every upgrade is done for him.
Yeah, gets the Queens as well, not before they get a medevac, but as he stims forward away for the Corrosive Bows, eats one with the Marines, but as we can see, that 1-1 chewing through this pretty nicely.
That was a very nice trade, I would say, for uThermal. It does suck that his upgrades have been stalled out here, something that also Nerchio is going to be really happy with. Like, I think that's why he didn't move in as well as he didn't have enough Ravagers to take care of the Liberators. But he's like, oh, I'll just stall up the upgrades. That's good, too. And even though uThermal kind of quickly rebuilt engineering bays, it still was a significant amount of time, and, you know, they just started them now.
Well, this one medevac in the main is unfortunately going to go down. Once again, Nerchio's focus fire here is fantastic, and rarely do we ever see him just auto-attacking. As he does attack into this base, it's not a planetary yet, or even an orbital for that matter, so unfortunately, no defense, but he will hold on to this with his bio.
It's kind of funny, like, uThermal went for double upgrades, but his third CC wasn't as quick as, like, the more economic follow-up, if you will, to the 2-1-1.
So my logic on this, I don't think is actually sloppy play, more like tunnel vision-y. He was doing almost too much damage, so it warranted him paying more attention to his army and less to, say, focusing on a third.
Yeah, I think he did go for, you know, intentionally went for like this big army to try and steamroll Nerchio, and unfortunately that does mean that he has this pretty late third CC, and it's like really odd to see a third CC on location without an orbital too. It's just, he had to delay his economy. He still did decent damage, and it's not the end of the world, but it is this thing where like he's gonna have to scan the hive soon and realize that ultras will be on the way, and that's always the timing in which it's do or die, basically.
I think,
or
especially
turtle.
for uThermal of all people.
Yeah.
So by the way, going over the bets for this because they're close at this point. It's actually pretty close. About 4.9k on Nerchio and 3.2k on uThermal.
Okay, that sounds right.
I think that's about what my head feels as far as the chances to win go. If we're going like percentages.
Yeah. Oh, these aren't gonna last long. Yeah, they still
no,
get
but
almost 6 rounds.
Yeah, it did force Nerchio to respond, however, so he wasn't continuing to pressure or push. More barracks coming down out here. We got infestors coming out, and that hive is going to be the question for ultras, as you brought up, but I really am worried about these infestors. I actually think fungal growths and corrosive biles are far more dangerous than any ultralisk.
Yeah, well, that's, you know, the difference between Nerchio and, you know, other Zergs, like Snoot, between each other is that Snoot would go for, like, his attack upgrades, and even if he went to a hive, it'd be, like, for Greater Spire, but Nerchio always seems to like the ultralisks, no matter what he does initially, whether it's Lings or Roches. But uThermal, he has a decent army, and he has upgrades, you know? I don't know how many games we've cast recently, dozens probably, where the upgrades don't time out with the Ultralisk Cavern, so the desperate final push before Chitinous Plating is only with like 1-1, barely on 2-2. That seems to have been happening a lot recently, but uThermal is actually going to have it. He has a really good army with a couple of tanks as well, and the fungals really aren't that plentiful.
No,
you know,
and
just used one.
Going back to those upgrades for a moment, the question is also going to be how many Marauders does he have? Because normally when we start seeing the numbers of like 25 plus, those are actual straight up fighting versus Ultralisk units, but 13's not too bad to be at the 11-minute mark.
Nerchio does certainly have enough gas here to go for Ultralisk, but a little low on the money as he...
Ooh, supply
you know,
block
he needs
too.
to defend this first, but that means he's not getting plating.
Ooh, actually, having just built 10 Ravagers, he's super supply blocks.
Oh.
But the fight's going to come down the middle of the map. The Lings are not going to be easily dealt with because the tanks have already been picked up. So backing away from this, scared of those fungals. He knows they're coming on that top side. Picks up the tanks once again and keeps running away from the corrosive biles. But the bio for uThermal's running a little bit thin. It's getting a little bit scary. Those Ravagers are looking a little too numerous. Nerchio pushes through and continues on towards the third. And once again, this wasn't a planetary or anything crazy. It's just an orbital. uThermal's army, where is it?
Well, it kind of all died. Oh, and there it goes. Another tank here. But it looks like nothing but Ravagers left over. He will have to back off.
It's almost like a bluff out of the... Like, I really think Nerchio probably could continue pushing that, but he didn't really know what was coming. So plays it safe, pulls back, gives uThermal a moment to breathe. His production's not bad, so he should be able to recover his army in none too much time. But the question still remains, like, okay, you just lost those 13 Marauders. You're nowhere close to 29. Liberators have proven to not be the answer. What is going to be done about the Ultralisks?
Well, he really does have to... I mean, yeah, maybe he could have a second push before plating was done, but it'd be pretty... I don't think it would work. There's still creep to clean up and an army still to fight for Nerchio as well, but he's decided to go for, Liberators and a fourth command center. And it really is going to be more of a turtle game for him from here on out.
uThermal just repaired his medevacs. Yay!
Oh. I was wondering what you're excited about.
I get so, I don't know. I know it's not always the best idea because you literally don't have the time or you can't afford to pull your SUVs off on mining to repair, but this is nice to see.
I'm going to restart Skype.
Alright. Been having a lot of problems with Skype lately. Feels bad, man. You guys aren't hearing it on my end, luckily, but what ends up happening is it just sounds like I cut out and stopped talking, and I don't know what causes that. We don't know what causes that.
I feel like, you know how Skype used, like, I think you can turn this off, but it has that thing where it's like above a certain level, it'll start accounting for it, so you don't blow each other's ears out.
Maybe.
Well, I think that because it seems to happen whenever you...
Oh, never mind.
Oh. Whenever you get really excited and start, like, talking fast and a little bit louder, it seems to be what triggers it. Triggered.
I'm not a Lyft driver. Calm down.
Wow. Anyways, that's just a theory, though. No, that's ultras, but you know,
they don't have a lot of
defensive setup.
They also don't have a lot of support. This is mostly just raw power through Ultralisk. The Ravagers aren't that numerous, and the Lings, as we saw, died out pretty quick. But looks like it still might be enough to punch through. GG. Nerchio takes the first game in this best of 3. Luckily, though, with the Corsair Cup, it is loser's pick, so uThermal will have his chance to pick his favorite Terran map to play on. That being said, though, like, that wasn't exactly too bad of a game. It wasn't so convincing that, like, wow, okay, Nerchio's definitely going to take the series now, but that was a very well played, very well played game out of Nerchio. And most importantly, there were quite a few moments that looked like he might be in trouble himself.
It definitely was, but it was a series of, I think, attempts of uThermal to really get a super good lead, and he never quite got it. So, like, kudos to Nerchio for a good defense. And the next map's going to be King Sejong.
Yeah. Also, we're testing the 2-second delay in chat today, by the way, guys. There's some new moderator tools that came out, and I don't know how it's going to function. We might test the 4-second delay tomorrow and compare them up, and we might go back to no seconds delay. I don't know, but it's definitely interesting because I'm not typing in chat, so I don't feel the effects of it, but you guys may, and I just wanted to explain so some people are not confused why the chat is taking a few seconds to show up. What is... No one is Corsair Cup? What?
Some guy added Corsair Cup. Like, that's how you're supposed to do it.
Added?
Like, in the chat. At Corsair Cup, you know? Like, you can add a person.
Oh, okay, yeah. I thought you said added, like 1 + 1 = 2.
No. Added. That's actually a hard word to differentiate.
Yeah, that's like horror.
Nope. Can't do it. So glad that guy retired.
You never have to cast him again. Can't say his name for jack squat. But alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back once again. Best of 3s here in the Corsair Cup. First best of 3 of the day. And we got a lot more really good games behind this one. But my fear is, if someone as good as this guy falls, it may just be a bunch of ZvZ to follow suit. In the bottom right, it's the blue Terran, uThermal.
The top left, as the red Zerg, he is Nerchio.
Actually, I'm going to take a quick look at the brackets, and it is predominantly Zerg as expected out of Europe. Bly versus TLO in the next round, ideally. Although Keen or Billowy does fight the winner of this series. You got Scarlet versus Laser going on right now. Guru probably beats Likanine. No offense to Likanine, love you. Fear versus Stylish. Oh, Hearthstone lost that first round. That's actually surprising.
Fair.
And then bottoms, I think B-Lord Zerg, but I could actually be incorrect. I don't remember. So either way, still heavily Zerg favored in these brackets.
Did you miss the other upset? Blue Cheese beat Snoot.
No, I didn't see that. I was just looking at B-Lord, but yeah, wow, okay, Snoot got kicked out too. But that's the problem is, as much as I want to get super hyped about that, every best of 1 I see where somebody gets upset, I'm like, in my head immediately, was it cheese? Like, was it something stupid?
Yeah, there's that. Like, fear, you know, PvP with Hearthstone and whatnot. Like, that's something that can be different too. Blue Cheese is actually a Terran player, if I remember correctly. So beating Snoot was actually pretty impressive, unless he did cheese. Although it's King Sejong Station. Well, it's King Sejong Station, so I actually couldn't do that. I don't know what it is, but I do know that Blue Cheese has been surprising in brackets recently, so that's a really cool thing for him.
Well, I was just going to mention, to follow that up, that while I am discrediting the best of 1s a little bit, I do want to also mention that it's still cool to see wins and new names. And it's like, you know, when we saw Coffee or, for example, Natural over in Korea, they're not players who have a lot of name recognition, but they play very well.
Oh yeah, I forgot about Coffee.
Coffee is Chinese, that's why we don't see him too often. I thought he was Korean for a long time.
Yeah, well, he came in with like Natural and like one other rookie, and then Natural's the only one that stayed.
Yeah. Well, Reaper going to come across the map and scout Nerchio in just a moment. Nerchio actually has some pretty nice vision on seeing that command center timing out of uThermal.
I didn't wonder why he chose King Sejong Station. I guess he just feels comfortable on it.
I really thought this was going to be some shenanigans if he was going to pick like Galactic Process, for example, right? Or Frozen Temple, but despite the fact that that seems to be one of uThermal's favorite things, he's not doing it. And that's good too. Again, these cups are the best place to practice against somebody if you want to work on your macro, if you want to play that mid to late game versus somebody like Nerchio, if you want to try and work on that aspect of your gameplay, don't cheese.
It's true, and I think it's gonna be something that he's just comfortable on. Now, uThermal a couple months ago, he still was doing these, like, you know, the odd tank push behind the rocks or on the third base after a Wood Mine drop, something that's like pretty old, but he would try and make it work, and he could make it work, you know, beyond what other Terrans could do. But he's kind of almost done with that. It's like a pushed aside maturity or something like that. But he does seem to rely more on either the 2-1-1, he's also done a couple of the 3cc builds on New Gettysburg, but more like Beyond, basically. And occasionally throwing in something weird, but maybe not getting too much success with it. So a comfortable map, I suppose. He might follow up with a two-base tank push first and foremost, because I thought that's what he was going to do on Frost, horizontal spawn, but he instead went for the double Jeering Bay aggressive bio kind of two-base push. But the tank thing can actually still do a good amount of damage, whether or not you abuse the what's the word? The design of the map. There we go.
Well, I was waiting for like an opportunity to stick this in there, but that was some great analysis. I really didn't want to interrupt. But quick shouts to 2 resubs. Let's go to about 20 months and scaling for 8 months with the smiley faces. Love you guys.
Yeah.
Guys, you know there's a girl here, right? That's not okay. It's 2016. I'm getting offended for Zombie Grub. Ugh!
Good, I don't have to waste the effort.
No, thank you so much, Scaling. I've unfortunately, last night, spent a lot of time watching some of the H3 videos, particularly dissecting the more extreme feminist things that have happened in recent events, and I'm just like, I can't do anything serious in that topic right now.
I don't know what that means or what that is.
Like
Great.
the humongous incident? You didn't hear about that at all?
No, I saw the joke about it and someone tried to explain it to me, but...
Oh, you have to see the video. It's magic. Once again, Nerchio's focus fire is on point, and that medevac almost dead. It's almost deceptive. You just don't see the queens firing, but all of a sudden your medevacs are almost gone.
Yeah. That's actually pretty bad that he has a red medevac already. He does go for the 2 engineering bays, so it's not going to be the tank follow. I mean, he might still get tanks like he did last game, but just like not immediately pushing with 2 tanks. But I want to see like when he gets his extra barracks, I suppose. If it's going to be something similar to last game, where his 3rd CC seemed to be really just put off and to get more and more aggressive. Now, for Nerchio, he is going for the Ling style this game. As we talked about, he can go from either one. So much faster upgrades in this game than last, and he is going to be ahead of uThermal. As hard as uThermal could try to get faster upgrades, you can't when the Zerg does this. And it's actually like it's pretty safe usually. Like 20-30 Lings and their good upgrades can actually take on this size of Marine Force if they get a decent surround with queens there to accompany them.
uThermal's Widow Mines might be beneficial here. I want to point out Nerchio is not doing roaches this time around, and it's going to be a little bit awkward if he was expecting it to be the case, because banelings are really tough to deal with. He scans and doesn't want to waste it, but unfortunately can't dive in for that creep tumor, so running away. Oh, he's clumped up, and that's all kinds of bad! But the banelings don't get the hits they want. Somehow uThermal manages to escape that mess. Not for long, though. Round 2 comes in, and that medevac unload was not going to save a lot of those units. Widow Mine's got some okay hits while that went on, but there's still banelings on the ground. That's why I think he's a little bit too scared to take any fight right now. By the way, just some people commenting on the whole best of one aspect of the Corsair Cup. To explain, in the past, when we've got signups this plentiful, it's usually of a lot of lower league players, which we found our audience wasn't enjoying, and for us it was kind of taxing to cast best of 3s of like really bad gameplay. So the idea of the best of ones were to allow people to play. Whoa, that's gonna be the end of the game?
Wow.
Okay, uThermal just gonna tap out, I guess, taking too much damage and not dealing anything.
Yeah.
That, I was not expecting that to end there. That's why I was going into a side note, but okay, GG, Nerchio takes the series 2-0. But to finish that thought real quick, guys, we're not normally blessed with this many pro signups. So it's something where if we saw this happen again and consistently, we would absolutely change and adapt the format to be more complementary and not maybe have as many best of ones, for example. But anyways, I'm a bit shocked. I guess chaos and frustration combined ended up being a bad game for uThermal, and that ends up being the end of the series. Nerchio moves on to fight against Keen. Blythe plays versus TLO. And the top half of the bracket's moving really quick. We'll try and find out what game we're casting. Either way, stick around, guys, and we'll see you in 2 minutes.